Good evening, card fighters, and welcome to the Hoodie Ninja TCG's Divine Dragon Caper set review. Today we'll be going over the Narukami cards, starting with a Grade 0 4K stand trigger called Djinn of Rainy Duststorm. At G-Break 1, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, this unit gets plus 3000 power, and until end of turn, choose one of your units, and that unit gets Thunderstrike 1 on the Vanguard or the rearguard circle. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards, retires it, and binds it face up. I really like this stand trigger, mostly because it does some neat... It basically puts an on-hit effect on any of your guys, and makes it so he can boost up said unit that you gave the ability to. I think this guy will see play. I don't know if Narukami's going to want to run a stand trigger nowadays, since their deck seems to be a lot more aggressive nowadays. But I believe this guy would see play. Like, he's the best stand trigger that I think I've seen for a while. He also provides fodder for if you have to retire him as a cost of any of your abilities. So I like this guy. He's pretty neat. Then we have Demonic Dragon Nymph Cordo. It's a heal trigger. You run 4 of them. I've said it before. Honorable Dragon Monk, a grade 0 5k draw trigger. No abilities. He's a cool, like, Zenyatta monk from Overwatch. I like it, but it's a draw trigger. I don't know if Narukami's going to want a draw trigger nowadays, especially if they're running that stand trigger that's pretty good, but it's fine. It's draw trigger. It looks nice. The art's cool. Alright, grade 0 5k Forerunner, Eradicator, Ambitious Dragoon. At G-Break 1, when your Vanguard with Descendant in its card name attacks... When your Vanguard with Descendant in his card name attack hits a Vanguard, you may return this unit to your hand. It's kind of like Koro from Bermuda Triangle with Prisms, but only for Descendant cards. And this works with just having your normal grade 3 Descendant. But I wouldn't use this starter. There are better starters that you can use, like the Superior Ride one is better than this card, mostly because it lets you Superior Ride. And I like this. I like the set of cards that they're moving towards Descendant instead of just giving Eradicators random support so they can fill up Descendant decks. But this guy is not gonna make the cut in those decks, I believe. Dragon Dancer Fatine, grade 1 6k with Thunderstrike 2 when this unit is placed on rearguard circle. Soul Blast 1, and if you do, draw a card. This card's really good. Just because you place it on rearguard, you Soul Blast, you draw a card. Thunderstrike 2 is not hard to get to at all, as we've seen before. Thunderstrike is a really good mechanic, and I think Narukami is going to be well placed in the meta after this set. Next we have Grudge Toxin Eradicator Sayobo. The heal trigger from the last 2 generations has turned into a grade 1 7k. And when your Vanguard with Descendant's card name attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your other units. That unit and this unit gets plus 4000 power until end of turn at Counterblast 1. I like this card a lot, mostly because it buffs 2 units. Like, it makes this thing an 11k booster, and it makes another unit an additional 4000 power. So it can add 8000 power to a column, it can give it to your Vanguard on the second attack, and you can do this twice if Descendant manages to restand. I really like this card. It's definitely going in every Descendant deck that's happening. Now, at a 4 of, I don't think it's going to be one. I don't think it's going to be a 4 of. Maybe at a 2 or 3, but I think this card's going to see a lot of play in Descendant decks. Next we have Eradicator Strike Slasher Dragon. Say that 3 times fast. Grade 1 7k with 2 abilities. Both on rearguard. At G-Break 1, when an attack hits a Vanguard during the battle that this unit boosted, if you have a Vanguard with Descendant in its card name, countercharge 1. At the end of the battle, your Vanguard with Descendant in its card name attacked a Vanguard. If the attack did not hit, you may Soul Charge 1. And that ability is once per turn. I like this card a lot as well. Again, this is why I don't think Sayobo is going to be at a 4 of, because this card's really good. Keep in mind it says when an attack hits a Vanguard, so this can boost a rearguard. It doesn't have to boost the Vanguard. And it doesn't, like, a lot of the cards that say Soul Charge 1 or Counter Charge 1 when the attack doesn't hit normally have to go into the Soul. This guy doesn't. He just stays on the field all the time. And he just provides you a constant stream of Soul Charging and Counter Charging, and I like this card. Again, probably like Sayobo, who's not going to be seen at a 4 of. But I think he's going to be definitely played in every Descendant deck. Next we have Zoom Dive Dragoon, a grade 2 8k, with an activated ability. On the Vanguard or the Rearguard, when you have Thunderstrike 2, you may Counterblast 1. Choose up to 3 units with the Thunderstrike ability in your front row, and they get plus 2,000 power until end of turn. That doesn't say once per turn. This card is really good. Now, you don't want to have to ride him on your Vanguard circle. That would make you sad. But if you get him on the Rearguard, any Rearguard, like, you can put him behind your Vanguard if you're that scared that he's gonna die, or you don't have any good boosters, and you just give your whole front row 2,000 power for just Counterblast 1. That is really good. It's not gonna see play in the new Descendant decks because it's not Thunderstrike reliant, but this card is really good. I would not discount this card seeing any kind of play. Next is Martial Arts Dragon. This guy is also really good. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you pay the cost of Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the front row, retire it, and bind that card face up. This card is really good in the early game because it helps your Thunderstrike go off. It prevents any kind of aggro, so that whole 7 Cs aggro thing, it kind of gets pushed out the window with this card. And he has other abilities. On the Rearguard, if you have G-Break 1 and Thunderstrike 2, which you're already halfway there if you get his first ability off, during your turn, it gets plus 3,000 power. This card is really good. I imagine seeing it as, I don't know how many they're going to play if a Thunderstrike deck plays this card, because you want to get him as your grade 2 ride as often as possible, but you don't want that many of them in the late game. You want more of your heavy hitters. But I think this, seeing this guy at a 4 of would not surprise me at all. Next we have grade 2 9k Eradicator Lightning Phoenix. When your Vanguard with Descendant's card name attacks, you may pay the cost of Counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your other units. That unit and this unit get plus 4,000 power until end of turn. It's a grade 2 Sayobo from before. It's really good. Probably follows the same rules as her. But I think this card would see less play because there are better grade 2 Eradicators than grade 1 Eradicators on average. But I like this card. It's fine. Next we have Groundbreaking General Bisham. Grade 3 10k, so you already know it's bad. But, at an automatic ability on Vanguard or Rearguard with Thunderstrike 2 enabled, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you pay the cost of Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards in your opponent's Mind Zone, search for up to 2 cards with Thunderstrike ability from among them, call them to separate Rearguard, and shuffle your deck at the end of your turn, bind the units called with this effect face up. This is fine. It's got a brick of text on it, but it's an alright card. But there are better versions. Honestly, I would rather run the grade 3 12k instead of this guy. Just have the chance of having a more awkward defense for my opponent to get through, rather than having a random ability that sometimes works. Keep in mind they have to have the Thunderstrike ability, and I don't think there's enough grade 1s with the Thunderstrike ability to justify this card. So overall, I think he's pretty bad. Next, we're into the rares. 5k grade 0 with Forerunner, Ascetic Draco Kid. At Thunderstrike 1, always, when this unit boosts, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until the end of that battle. Neat. Does something before G-Break. I like that. Then, when you're at G-Break, when any player's rearguard other than this unit is retired from rearguard due to card effects during your turn, you may pay the cost of retiring this unit. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards, retires it, and binds it face up. Basically, you just kill one of their things, kill this guy, kill another thing. It's pretty nice. I like it. I don't know why it says any player's rearguard. I guess there's some sacrifice shenanigans you can do. But overall, I think this card's alright. It's pretty good. If you're in a Thunderstrike deck, you're going to play this one, I believe. Now, you'll probably play the first one that gets plus 3 for every card in the bind zone. That card is insane. Next is a grade 1 7k Trainee Monk Dragon. At Thunderstrike 1, when this unit attacks Vanguard, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until the end of that battle. That is not G-Break reliant. Thank you, Bushiroad, for giving at least a clan something to do before G-Break. I love it. Then, you put this unit to your soul as an activated ability at G-Break 1 on the rearguard circle, and you choose one of your vanguards with Vanquisher in its card name, and until end of turn, it gets a continuous ability on the vanguard. When this unit attacks a vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and this unit battles both the vanguard and both units on the chosen rearguard in one attack. That is really good. Basically gives it a pseudo, why can't I remember his name? Vermilion effect. I like how Narukami is that's becoming one of their mechanics, is giving things Vermilion's effects, but it's kind of making the Vermilion style deck worse as it goes on, but it's fine. Maybe it's meant to be bad. Next we have Eradicator Dragonic Death Scythe. He's back! And as a grade 2. I thought this was a reprint, but it wasn't, because I can't read. Then, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a vanguard with Descendant in its card name, you can counterblast 1. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. That's pretty good. Then, when your unit with Descendant in its original card name is placed on vanguard circle, you put this unit into your soul. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the front row and retire it. None of this is G-Break reliant, and that is fantastic. The fact that none of this Descendant support besides the starter has been G-Break is really good. They can just decimate an opponent's early game. I really like this card, and I think this would be the one to see a 4 of in the Descendant decks. But again, I think they kind of want to run a more balance of grade 2s because they have a lot of good ones to choose from. Next we have Roaring Thunderspiel Jalil. Grade 3 11k with a continuous ability at G-Break 1 with Thunderstrike 2. During your turn, this unit gets plus 4,000 power, and all of your opponent's units cannot intercept. That is alright on Vanguard, being a 15k attacker, gets you to 23 with gets you to 22 with a 7k boost, I believe, and that's a pretty good number. He's also a keyword searcher on his second ability. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can pay the cost of Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. If you do, look at the top 5 cards at the top of your deck, search for up to 1 card with the Thunderstrike ability from among them, reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. The Thunderstrike ability doesn't have a perfect guard yet, I don't believe. But if they do get one, I think this card would see a little bit of play in Thunderstrike decks. Another single R, we have Polestar Eradicator Zuitan. It's a grade 3 11k. When your Vanguard with Descendant in its card name attacks, you pay the cost of Counterblast 1. If you do, this unit gets plus 5 until end of turn. Again, not G-Break reliant, and is able to be used as soon as your Descendant starts swinging. So that's really good. Then when your Vanguard with Descendant's card name attacks, you may pay the cost of retiring it. If you do, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets plus 5,000 power until end of turn. I think you'd rather run one of the break rides instead of this guy. Or maybe you'd want to run something different in its place. But that first ability is just fine. You're never going to use the second one because if your Vanguard's getting like plus 5,000 power on a stride more often than not, it's probably not going to happen. But in the late game when you can't stride and you have this guy on the field, it's pretty good. I think this guy's going to see play in Descendant decks. Next we have Wyvern Defender Gold. It's obviously a Sentinel. When you put it on the Guardian Circle, you can discard a card, choose a Vanguard, and it cannot be hit for the rest of the turn. Then it has Thunderstrike 2 ability. Hey look, it's the Thunderstrike Perfect Guard. Does it do anything relevant? Well, at the end of the battle that this unit boosted a unit with a Thunderstrike ability, you can Soul Blast 1, choose one of your other rearguards and retire it. If you do, return this unit to your hand, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. Hello! This card is really good. You combine this with like the stand trigger, and you can just attack with this guy and the stand trigger, and it's like, if that hits, you retire like 3 different units, and that's hilarious. I like this card, mostly because it's going to be able to search really easily in Thunderstrike decks. The deck kind of builds itself, but I think that's fine. This card's going to see a lot of play in those kind of decks. Moving on to the double rares, we have the G-Guardian, Sky Guardian, Supreme Dragon, Bulwark Dragon. Again with the Dragon Dragons, Bushiroad. It's a grade 4 G-Guardian. It's a 15k shield when you call it. When at Thunderstrike 3, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. So this means, like, super early in the game, you have a 25k shield available to you from the G-Zone. That's pretty nifty. Then, at the end of the battle, this unit is placed on Guardian Circle. For every 4 cards in your opponent's bind zone, choose up to 1 rested rearguard in your opponent's front row and retire it. Hello, Denial Griffin for free. If I have Thunderstrike 4, that's really good. This should see a lot of play in any Narukami deck that can hit the Thunderstrike ability. Next we have, going into the triple rares, True Eradicator Dragonic Descendant Zillion. Really, Bushiroad? Zillion? You couldn't even call it just Z. You called it Zillion. Well, I hope his ability makes up for that stupid name. It's a stride, so it's a grade 4, 15k plus ability. It has an activated ability, with the cost of choosing a face-down him from the G-Zone and turning it face-up. If you have a heart card with Descendant in its card name, until end of turn this unit gets, again, once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If the attack did not hit, you pay the cost of Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 2, and choose 3 cards from your hand and discard them. If you do, stand this unit, and it gets Drive Check -1 until end of turn. So it gets 5 Drive Checks, and you only have to discard 3 cards. But you have to Soul Blast 2, and there's a lot of some Soul Blasting in this deck. But I believe this card is ultimately better than Descendant as a whole. I know you have to ride Descendant to make this work. But only having to discard 3 cards, period, not having to have Eradicator in this name, even though they probably will have Eradicator in this name anyway, this card's going to see a lot of play because it kind of defines the Descendant deck. Descendant wasn't a deck until this guy came around. Some people be like, oh no, I played Descendant, he was my avatar, and he was the best before. No, he was a pretty bad deck. Gauntlet Buster just outclassed him as an Eradicator general. Alright, Conquering Supreme Dragon Dragonic Vanquisher VMAX. This is the Generation Rare for Narukami, the other one in the set, outside of Wailing Thavis. I don't think this card is as good as Wailing Thavis in my opinion, but this guy will definitely end your opponent's day if you're at a tournament. At G-Break 3, Thunderstrike 5. Thunderstrike 5. That's a lot of Thunderstrike. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If your opponent has no rear guards, you pay the cost of Counterblast 2. If you do, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and deal 1 damage. Straight up, deal 1 damage. No, if they're at 4 or less. No, just deal a damage. Now, it doesn't negate trigger effects like some other abilities that do this. But, so they can still Miracle Heal out of it, but that still can just end a game. Saving 2 Counterblast is not hard in this deck at all, especially with some countercharging that they can do. And that first ability is amazing. And it has another ability. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rearguards for each face-up card with a Vanquisher in its card name in your G-Zone, and this unit battles both the Vanguard and those units in the chosen rearguard in one attack. So if you've strode this guy before, it's battling 2 units. If you've strode into the previous Vanquisher stride, that's 3 units plus this guy's next one. Then if you stride into this guy again, that's 5 units you're attacking, and that is just insane. This guy's going to see a lot of play in any Vanquisher deck. If you're playing Vanquisher, you're playing this guy, because Vanquisher just kind of feeds into itself with the Thunderstrike abilities of the on-stride, and the other Vanquisher strides work really well with Vanquisher himself. I think this card's going to see a lot of play. One thing I'd like to note, he does not require you have to have a Vanquisher heart. Same with Thavis. You don't need to have a Thavis heart. So that's really good in my opinion. He's going to be seeing play in a lot of Narukami decks that can hit that Thunderstrike 5 ability. Well, that's all the Narukami cards. Thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow we'll be going over the Shadow Paladin cards. The new revival of the Shadow Paladins after, Claret Sword kind of bit the dust. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.